activity then, what I want you to do is think about the fact that foster carers need to be resilient. Okay, so by being resilient, that means we need to be able to manage the challenges that we face. Foster carers need to be good team players. You need to be able to work as part of a team for the child's best interests. And you need to be child-centred. That child needs to come first in everything. Their needs need to be paramount. So what knowledge, skills and attributes would a person need to be resilient, a good team player and child-centred? So basically what we're asking is, what knowledge, skills and attributes do you need to be a good foster carer? So I'm going to ask you to put me on pause, have a think about that, and then we'll have a look at it. Okay, so pause me now. Okay, so you need to be able to provide a good standard of care to meet children's needs, okay? So a good standard of care is okay, we want exceptional standards of care. If you remember the minimum standards, it's the least that we expect. You need to be able to work closely with children's families, which I've already talked about. It's really vital that children don't see you judging their families, belittling their families, speaking negative about their families, and that you have the best working relationship that's possible in your circumstances. You need to be able to set boundaries without using physical or inappropriate punishment. So children do need boundaries, but those boundaries need to be very individually tailored, and you cannot treat these children the same way that you would treat your own when it comes to behaviour, boundaries, expectations, and that's everything that we're going to cover in the fourth session. You need to have a knowledge of normal child development. So what is normal? And I don't like that word. I think that could be replaced with expected. But we need to know what expected development is for children and milestones and things like that, because if we don't, we're not going to pick up on when they're not meeting something. So for example, my own son was a very late talker. If I didn't know that he should have been speaking by a certain stage, I wouldn't have known to seek help with that. So it's really important that we have some knowledge and understanding of expected child development. You need to have the ability to ensure that children are cared for and safe from harm and abuse, which we've already talked about, goes without saying. You need to be able to help children to keep themselves safe from harm or abuse and know where to seek help if their safety is threatened, and this is everything we're going to look at in session 2. You need to be able to work with other professionals, which we've already talked about, and contribute to children's plans. You need to be able to keep information confidential, and confidentiality is so important. These children's lives are open to so many people, they don't need to be open to all of your friends and family. And foster carers often tell me that people can be so nosy, and people will know that you're applying to be foster carers. That doesn't mean to say they have to know the child's circumstances. So when a child comes to live with you, there will be people in your life that will know this child must be in foster care. But that doesn't mean to say they can know why. And a lot of foster carers say to me, there are people in their lives who will go, oh, what's this one in for then? Oh, what's the plan for this one? That's not okay to share that. Yes, they'll know why that they're there being looked after, but that's as far as it goes. You need to have the ability to promote equality and diversity. We're going to be talking about that in session 2 as well, but being a good role model is really vital in that. You need to be able to understand how you can be affected by your own experiences and considering the impacts that fostering will have on your own family. So as part of your assessment, those of you who've already started your assessment, some of you might be thinking, well, they want to know a lot. It's because we need to understand your life and your understanding of your life and your interpretation of that, your analysis of your situations and how that will transpire into your care for a child. So you need to be able to reflect on your own experiences to be able to determine how you're going to care for other children. And also we expect foster carers to be reflective and to be able to say when something wasn't quite right and when you didn't get something right. We don't want any of you to be perfect superheroes. What I see as a real positive is when someone can say, I didn't get that right, or I didn't get that very good, or that wasn't the best, or I didn't handle that very well, but this is my reflection and this is what I'm going to do in the future. And you need to be able to make use of and seek out support. So I've already talked a lot about support, but I certainly see it as a strength if a foster carer rings me and says, I'm struggling, please help me, rather than a foster carer who keeps that to themselves and only tells us when things are going really, really wrong. You will need support as a foster carer. You might be sat there thinking, I'll be fine. You will need support, I can guarantee it. And you need to be able to maintain positive relationships under stress. So you will encounter stressful times, but it's really important that positive relationships are maintained, particularly between you and the child, especially if that child is pushing your buttons, if you like. So I'm going to talk to you now about Every Child Matters. So Every Child Matters came about from Government Guidance. You'll have talked about this on your safeguarding training, but it sets out 5 outcomes that are split into 6 in Hull of things that we should be striving to achieve and we should be promoting for every child. So not just looked after children, but every child out there, we should be promoting these outcomes. So the first one is be healthy. So we want children to be healthy, both physically and emotionally. We want children to stay safe. We want children to be safe and to feel safe. We want children to enjoy. We want children to have opportunities to enjoy things, to have interests. We want children to achieve. That's educationally, personally. We want children to be able to achieve their goals and fulfil their potential and have aspirations. We want children to make a positive contribution. So positive contribution is all about children contributing to society and being good upstanding members of society, having moral codes, having positive values and ethics, being free from problems with the law, giving something back to their community. And achieving economic well-being is all about children going on to be able to be to have sustainable lives, to be able to function in society, to be able to work and provide for themselves and their families, and to have goals and aspirations, if you like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to pause me in a minute, and I want you to make some notes or lists under each of these headings of what you as a foster carer can do to promote each of these. Okay, so if you pause me now. Okay, so let's have a look at your lists and my lists. What I've done is I've prepared some lists of the kind of common answers that we get on the training room. So under Be Healthy then, providing a balanced diet. I've already talked about that. Children can still have treats, but we do expect you to provide children with a healthy, balanced diet. Bearing in mind, some of the children that you care for will have had very limited diets. I've had a child before who only ever ate quavers. So please don't expect that a child comes into your care, you put a full Sunday dinner in front of them, they're going to eat it. You might have to start off with what the child's familiar with and keep offering them different things and working up to a healthy, balanced diet. Exercise, providing children with opportunities to exercise. Taking children for a walk can have so many benefits. Just being out in the fresh air and getting the exercise, but there's so many things that children can explore, little things they can point at and look at and talk about. So just going for a walk. We don't need to be joining children up to gyms and stuff like that, but they need opportunities to exercise. Keeping children up to date with their medical appointments. So you will need to take children to their medical appointments, and you may have a child that comes to you who's out of date with immunisations, that kind of thing. So there may be stuff that you need to chase up. You may have a child who's not registered with an optician, with a dentist, who's never had a hearing check. So all of those things you might be playing catch up with, but that we expect you to make sure that those are carried out. Promoting children's mental and emotional health is really, really vital. We're going to look at in session 4 about how we do that, but remembering that mental health in children is a really key thing, and for our children particularly, you will see very different emotional health to how you might see in your own children or children that you know. And promoting sexual health with our children. So you might think just because you've got a primary school age child you don't need to think about that, but schools at all ages do some sort of relationship or sexual education. So it's important that you understand what that child's learning there so that you can back this up at home and work hand in hand. So under Stay Safe then, home safety. So you might have noted that you will need to keep your home safe. You will have a home safety check done as part of your assessment. If you've got littlies, you might need stair gates or cupboard locks. I'd just like to mention on that note that the socket covers are now not safe. We should not be using socket covers to cover sockets. There's a really technical electrical explanation which I'm not going to try and give you, so if you want to look it up that's fine, but ROSPA, the Royal Organisational Society for the Prevention of Accidents, have now deemed them not to be safe. Creating stability. So you might have had children who've been looked after by all sorts of different people, moved around, never had that stability. So by being a foster carer, if you can create stability for this child, i.e. look, you're here, you're not going anywhere, then that's really important to help children to feel safe. Monitoring activities, so children who are taking part in activities, monitoring those, making sure you know what they're up to, what are they doing, and keeping them safe that way. Being a positive role model, so important. I think it will come up in a few of these. Can't stress that enough. It's not do as I say, it's do as I do. And helping children to feel safe is one of the answers that we often get, but think about how are you going to do that. I will tell you now, if you say to a child, you are safe, their brain will not say to them, you are safe. Their brain will say, why is this person saying this? Because I'm not safe. So helping children to feel safe is very much about what you do, and it's about the long term as opposed to just telling children or giving them things. Okay. So enjoy then. So under enjoy, we often have people saying providing children with holidays. Absolutely. If you're going on holiday, we want you to take children with you. Children need holidays, have the right to experience holidays, days out, things like that, and you will be paid an extra allowance to help towards this. Providing children with activities, I've already talked about. Pick up on things that they like. Don't just suddenly surprise them with, oh, we're going to Flamingo Land. Do they like Flamingo Land? Did they know this was coming? So activities need to be well thought out, well structured, and age appropriate, but also something that the child can handle. Providing children with opportunities to have fun. Some children might find it very hard to have fun at first, but we need to make sure that we give as many opportunities as possible, and giving them family time. So I've got time for you, and if I have fun with you and I've got time for you, that must mean that you're a good person and you're enjoyable. And promote children's interests. So pick up on things that children are interested in and promote that. Like I've said before, you might notice that you've got a child who's constantly twirling around and doing this, and you might say to that child, oh, I'm going to put some music on and have a bit of a dance, and they might look at you like you're an idiot, and then eventually they might join in, and then eventually they might want to go to a dance class, those kind of things. Let's not go like this on children, let's tiptoe in and promote their interests. So underachieve then, we want our children to attend school where possible, so you will have a role in that, and working with school, supporting children with homework. For some of our children, they will have never done their homework, they will have never had anyone to help them with their homework. So it's really important to realise that if you help them with that, that might be overpowering at first, but children will need support with that. Create home learning opportunities. So achievement and learning doesn't just happen in school. If you've got children that are preschool age, they won't be at school. So what opportunities are there within your home? What activities do you have at home? What toys do you have at home? What experiences do you create? At the moment, so the date today is the 30th of March 2020. So today, all I'm able to do with my 2-year-old outdoor, out of the house, is go for walks. And he's learning so much by picking up sticks, and which is the big stick, which is the smaller stick. How can you throw that down the hill? Can you throw that up the hill? There's all sorts of ways that we can learn with children other than school. But also, when you have got children in nursery or school, you need to be a presence. So think about our children who might be the child that never has somebody there at the school play, who, when they go off on a school trip, is the only child without someone waving them off, who doesn't come to the Christmas fair, who doesn't come to this, who doesn't come to that, doesn't come to the school disco. You can be a presence within school and be involved in school, and that will mean so much to these children because they will have seen it in other children. I've worked in schools where I can see those kids that never have anybody there, and I can see them watching the others. I can remember going off on school trips and having all the parents like this waving, and there's the child on the bus who's sat watching thinking there's nobody there to wave at me. It's heartbreaking. So if you can turn that around, that's going to mean so much. Okay, making a positive contribution. Here it is again. Being a positive role model. So important. If you have a good moral code, if you are a good upstanding member of society, if you contribute to community, that child will see that in you, and that you hopefully will become their safe person. They will learn from you. Build a relationship with the child. Relationships heal so much for these children. It's so important that they begin to trust you and see you as a safe person. Building children's self-confidence. Now, it's important that we don't just say to children, you're good, you're clever, I like you. That won't show them. That won't have any kind of impact on the brain as if you show them. And one of the ways we can show them is, like we've said before, spending time with them, showing them that you value them, accept them for the way that they are. Work with professionals, so work with the professionals involved with that child and create a sense of community. Involve the child in the community. If there's events going on in the community, what can we help children to be involved in? And then achieve economic well-being. We can support children with further education, so children who reach school leaving age, what can we help them to go through? Making sure that we support those children who have no clue what they want to do or where they want to go or what they want to be. Because there is a lot of pressure on children to know what their future is going to hold. And that can be really difficult for children. So we're going to support them and look at options and help them to consider what might be best for them. Support and encourage their interests, goals and aspirations. So like I've said before, what are they interested in? What do they want to do? If they do know what they want to do, how can we help to support that? And develop independence. We can develop independence right from a tiny age. So, you know, when a child's first able to put a toy away, right, we need to tidy up now. When a child's able to dress themselves, when we can start giving some responsibility with money, right, you're getting £1 a week pocket money, what do you want to spend it on? When it's gone, it's gone. So these kind of life skills start very young, and as we get older we can help those in children. We do have a training course in your first year which is all about supporting young people through to adolescence, and we look at that in more detail. So there's lots of other things. If you go online and look at Every Child Matters, there's lots of information there, but it's just to create that awareness that this is the kind of stuff that we should be promoting for all children, but for our looked after children it can be a lot more complicated to help them with these skills and these areas.